Admiral Park Ji-ho stood at the observation deck of the Mars Defense Station, watching the red planet slowly turn beneath him. The station was small and quiet, nothing like the massive military bases he had read about in old stories. Earth looked peaceful from here, just a tiny blue dot in the distance. No one expected trouble. No one ever expected trouble anymore. The morning started like any other. Park Ji-ho drank his coffee and read reports about asteroid mining operations. The crew worked on routine maintenance. Dr. Kim Minji was in her lab studying rock samples from Jupiter's moons. Everything was normal and boring, just the way Earth liked it. Then the space around Mars began to change. Captain Lee Dong-hyun was hauling metal ore from the asteroid belt when his ship's computer started making warning sounds. He was piloting the merchant vessel Soul's Pride, an old cargo ship that had seen better days. The computer screen showed impossible readings. Energy signatures appeared out of nowhere, massive and growing stronger. "What the hell?" Dong-hyun muttered, checking his instruments again. The readings were still there, and they were getting bigger. Space began to ripple like water. Reality seemed to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at. Then ships started appearing. Not one or two ships, but thousands of them. Tens of thousands. They came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. The alien ships were dark and angular, covered in strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. They moved with purpose, spreading out in attack formation around Earth's solar system. The largest ship was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy planets. Admiral Park Ji-ho's coffee cup fell from his hands and shattered on the floor. The Mars Defense Station's alarm started screaming. Every sensor was going crazy, trying to process the sheer scale of what had just appeared in their solar system. "Sir," shouted Lieutenant Kang Hyerim from the communications station. "We're getting massive energy readings throughout the system. Unknown vessels, thousands of them. They just appeared out of nowhere." Park Ji-ho stared at the main screen. The alien fleet was so large it blocked out entire sections of stars. He had trained for this moment his whole life, but seeing it happen was different. This was not a drill. This was not a simulation. This was real. "Send an emergency signal to Earth," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "All channels. Priority Alpha. Tell them we have visitors." On the alien flagship, Supreme Commander Thakra studied the primitive solar system before him. The third planet from the star looked promising, blue and green with signs of civilization but no obvious defenses. His sensors detected radio signals and simple chemical rockets, the kind of technology his people had abandoned thousands of years ago. "Another easy conquest," Thakros said to his bridge crew. The Velecrian Empire had done this 847 times before. They would demand surrender. The primitive species would either fight and lose quickly or give up immediately. And then the Empire would be one system larger. Emperor Zethak himself was watching from his private chamber aboard the flagship. The conquest of new worlds had become routine for him, but he still enjoyed seeing the moment when a new species realized how outmatched they were. It reminded him why his empire ruled half the galaxy. Back on Earth, President Yoon Hana was in an emergency meeting when the call came in. She was discussing trade agreements and budget reports, normal political business. Then her chief advisor burst into the room with news that changed everything. "Madam President," he said, breathing hard from running, "we have a situation. A big one." The emergency meeting moved to the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol building. President Yoon Hana looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. The numbers were overwhelming. 50,000 ships, each one more advanced than anything Earth had ever imagined. Dr. Choi Sung-min, Earth's leading physicist, was already there with his team. He had been tracking the energy signatures since they first appeared. His face was pale but calm. "They're conducting scans of our planet," he reported. "Deep scans. They're trying to figure out our technology level and military capabilities." "What do they see?" President Yoon Hana asked. "Exactly what we want them to see," Dr. Choi replied with a small smile. General Nam Ji-hoon entered the room, his uniform crisp despite being woken up in the middle of the night. He had been waiting for this day for 20 years. All the training, all the preparation, all the secrets, it was finally time. "The fleet is holding position just outside our orbital space," he reported. "They haven't made any aggressive moves yet. They're probably preparing their standard surrender demand." The alien message came exactly 1 hour after their arrival. It was broadcast on all frequencies, in dozens of languages that their computers had learned by listening to Earth's radio signals. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated by alien machines that had no understanding of human emotion. "Primitive species of the third planet," the message began. "You are now within the territory of the Valkyrian Empire. Your resistance is impossible. Your defeat is certain. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resist and your world will burn. You have one solar rotation to decide." The message ended, leaving Earth's leadership in stunned silence. One day to surrender or face complete destruction. It was the same ultimatum the Valkyrians had given to hundreds of other worlds. President Yoon Hana looked around the room at her advisors and generals. These people had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth. They had prepared for this moment when humanity would face something bigger and more dangerous than themselves. "Options?" she asked quietly. General Nam Ji-hoon stepped forward. "We proceed as planned. Phase 1 is already in motion. All stations are reporting ready status." Dr. Kim Minji's voice came through the communication system from the Mars station. "Admiral Park confirms all outer system assets are in position. We're tracking every ship in their fleet. Captain Lee Dong-hyun, still hiding in the asteroid belt, sent his own report. I can see their formation from here. They think they have us surrounded, but they've actually trapped themselves." President Yoon Hana nodded slowly. The moment Earth had been preparing for had finally arrived. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive, defenseless world. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Send our response," she ordered. "Tell them we acknowledge their presence and ask them to state their intentions clearly." The response was simple and polite, exactly what the aliens expected from a confused and frightened primitive species. What they didn't know was that Earth had been ready for this day for a very long time. The game had begun. Supreme Commander Thakros watched the scan results with growing confidence. The primitive planet below showed no signs of advanced civilization. Their cities were small and scattered. Their space presence was laughably weak. Just a few tiny stations, and some metal chunks they called satellites. Intelligence. "Report," he called to his science. Intelligence Officer Gorbex brought up the detailed scans on the main display. "The humans appear to be barely spacefaring, Commander. Their fastest ships achieve only 0.001% light speed. We detected chemical rockets, primitive nuclear reactors, and basic radio communications. No quantum technology. No antimatter signatures. No dimensional barriers." Thakros nodded with satisfaction. It was exactly what he expected from a backwater world on the edge of the galaxy. These humans were probably still fighting wars with metal projectiles and chemical explosives. "What about their military?" he asked. "Minimal, sir. We detected some orbital platforms around their planet, but they appear to be research stations or communication relays. No energy weapons signatures. No force field generators. Their largest military vessels are smaller than our scout ships." The bridge crew laughed. Officer Zelvac, the weapons specialist, shook his head in amusement. "Commander, our smallest fighters could destroy their entire space force. This will not even qualify as a battle." Emperor Zethak was listening from his private observation chamber. He had seen this pattern hundreds of times before. A primitive species would either surrender immediately when they saw the Imperial fleet, or they would make some desperate attack that accomplished nothing. Either way, the outcome was always the same. On Earth, Dr. Choi Sung-min was monitoring the alien scans from his laboratory hidden deep beneath Geneva. His instruments tracked every probe beam, every energy sweep, every attempt to map human technology. The aliens were being very thorough, but they were only seeing what humans wanted them to see. "They're using standard Level 7 scanning protocols," he reported to General Nam Ji-hoon through encrypted channels. "Deep penetration scans, quantum resonance mapping, energy signature analysis. Very advanced but predictable." "Are our masking systems holding?" the general asked. "Perfect. They're reading our fusion reactors as primitive nuclear power. Our antimatter storage cells are showing up as chemical fuel tanks. The quantum communication network is invisible to their scans completely." Dr. Choi smiled as he watched the alien scanners completely miss the most important parts of human civilization. It had taken 50 years to develop technology that could fool scans this advanced. 50 years of preparation for exactly this moment. The truth was that Earth's entire surface infrastructure was designed to look primitive and harmless. The real civilization existed in hidden underground complexes that the aliens could not detect. The real space fleet was cloaked and scattered throughout the solar system. Waiting. Captain Lee Dong-yun was still hiding in the asteroid belt, watching the alien fleet through his ship's passive sensors. The Soul's Pride looked like an old cargo hauler, but its sensor suite was more advanced than anything the aliens had. He could see their formations, track their movements, and listen to their communications. "They're not taking any defensive positions," he reported to Earth Command. "All ships are arranged for attack runs. They expect no resistance at all." The alien fleet was making a classic mistake. They were so confident in their overwhelming superiority that they had positioned their ships for maximum psychological impact rather than tactical advantage. It was a formation designed to terrify primitive enemies into immediate surrender. Admiral Park Ji-ho watched from the Mars Defense Station as the alien ships moved into Earth's orbital space. Each enemy vessel was a masterpiece of advanced technology, covered in weapons that could level continents. But they were moving in tight formation, clustering together to show their numbers. "They're making it easy for us," he commented to his staff. "Look at that formation. No escape routes, no room to maneuver, all bunched up like fish in a barrel." Dr. Kim Minji was running final checks on her equipment. Her laboratory on the Mars station looked like a simple research facility. But hidden beneath the floor were some of the most advanced weapon systems humanity had ever created. "Particle alignment is perfect," she reported. "Quantum tunnel stabilizers are online. We have target locks on every ship in their formation." The alien fleet finished their scans and began broadcasting their surrender demand again. This time the message was more specific and threatening. They had analyzed human civilization and determined exactly how to break human resistance. "Humans of Earth," the mechanical voice announced. "We have studied your primitive technology. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your defenses cannot stop our attack. We offer you one chance to avoid total destruction. Surrender now, and we will allow some of your species to survive as servants to the Empire." The message included detailed scans of human cities, showing exactly which population centers the aliens would target first. It was a carefully calculated psychological attack, designed to create panic and despair. President Yoon Hana received the message in the underground command center. Around her, Earth's military leaders watched the alien fleet with calm expressions. There was no panic, no desperation, no fear. They had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. "Response, Madam President?" asked her communications officer. "Send them our standard diplomatic greeting," she replied. "Thank them for their detailed message and ask if they would like to reconsider their position." The response puzzled the aliens. Usually primitive species either surrendered immediately or launched desperate attacks. The humans were doing neither. They seemed almost calm. Supreme Commander Thakros studied the human response with growing confusion. "They're not panicking," he said to his bridge crew. "Why aren't they panicking?" "Perhaps they don't understand the situation," suggested Officer Gorvex. "Their primitive minds might not be able to process the scale of our fleet. Or maybe they're frozen with terror," added weapons specialist Zelvac. "Some species just shut down when faced with overwhelming force." Emperor Zethak was also puzzled by the human response. In his long experience, only highly advanced civilizations remained calm when facing the Imperial fleet. But the scans clearly showed that humanity was primitive and defenseless. Back on Earth, the final preparations were being completed. Professor Oh Tae-hyun activated the Deep Space Monitoring Network, bringing online sensors that had been hidden throughout the solar system for decades. Captain Shin Yujin powered up the combat systems aboard her vessel Busan Thunder, currently hiding in the shadow of Earth's moon. Engineer Kang Hyerim made the final connections in the quantum resonance network. Every satellite, every space station, every piece of human technology in the solar system was now linked together in a single massive system. "All stations report ready." General Nam Ji-hoon announced to President Yoon Hana, "The aliens have committed their entire fleet to Earth orbit. They cannot escape at their current velocity and formation density." "Time to reveal ourselves?" she asked. "Not yet. Let them get a little closer. The closer they are, the more complete our victory will be." The alien fleet continued its approach, still confident that they faced a primitive and helpless enemy. Their sensors showed no change in human activity. No military mobilization, no panic, no desperate preparations for battle. What they didn't know was that humanity had been mobilized for this battle for 50 years. Every human on Earth knew exactly what to do when the aliens arrived. Every piece of technology had been designed with this moment in mind. The aliens thought they were attacking a defenseless world. They were actually flying into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. The moment of truth was approaching fast. The Valkyrian fleet moved deeper into Earth's gravity well, their ships arranged in perfect attack formation. Supreme Commander Thakros was preparing for the final assault when his sensor operator made a disturbing report. "Commander, we're detecting energy fluctuations from the human orbital platforms. Very minor, but they weren't there before." Thakros frowned. "What kind of fluctuations?" "Unknown, sir. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database. They're very faint, almost like background radiation." Emperor Zethak was also receiving reports from his science teams. The humans were doing something, but their primitive technology made it impossible to understand what. It was probably just their communication systems going into overdrive as their governments panicked. What the aliens didn't realize was that humanity was finally dropping its disguise. Professor Oh Tae-hyun stood in his laboratory beneath the International Technology Institute in Geneva. Around him, holographic displays showed the true state of human civilization. The primitive infrastructure on Earth's surface was just a shell. The real civilization existed in vast underground complexes that no alien scanner could detect. "Beginning Phase 2, he announced to the global command network. "All masking systems are shifting to combat mode." Across Earth and throughout the solar system, human technology began to reveal its true nature. The research satellites orbiting Earth powered up weapon systems that had been hidden for decades. The communication relays near Mars activated defensive barriers that could stop planet-killing weapons. Captain Shin Yujin watched from the bridge of her ship Busan Thunder as it emerged from the moon's shadow. The vessel had been disguised as a piece of space debris for months, completely invisible to alien sensors. Now its true form was revealed, a warship more advanced than anything in the Valkyrian fleet. "All systems online," she reported to Earth Command. "Quantum drives at full power. Weapons systems charging. We are ready for battle." Dr. Kim Minji activated the final sequence in her laboratory on the Mars Defense Station. What the aliens thought was a simple research outpost was actually one of the most powerful weapons platforms ever built. Hidden beneath the station's innocent exterior were particle cannons that could crack moons. "Target acquisition complete," she announced. "We have firing solutions on every ship in the alien fleet." Admiral Park Ji-ho received confirmation from stations throughout the solar system. The Jupiter mining operation was actually a massive industrial complex producing antimatter weapons. The asteroid belt patrol ships were heavily armed destroyers. Even the tiny research probes scattered around the outer planets were equipped with quantum torpedoes. "All assets report ready," he told Earth Command. "We have the enemy fleet completely surrounded and targeted." The aliens were beginning to notice that something was wrong. Their sensors were detecting energy readings that shouldn't exist. The primitive humans seemed to have technology that was impossible according to Valkyrian science. "Commander," reported Intelligence Officer Gorvex, his voice uncertain, "we're getting some very strange readings from throughout the solar system. Energy signatures that don't make sense." Supreme Commander Thakros studied the sensor data with growing alarm. "What do you mean they don't make sense?" "Sir, some of these energy readings are higher than our own flagship." "That's impossible. Our scans showed they had primitive nuclear technology at best." On Earth, President Yoon Hana decided it was time to reveal the truth. She opened a communication channel to the alien fleet, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect Valkyrian. The aliens were shocked to hear their own language spoken flawlessly by a supposedly primitive species. "Supreme Commander Thakros of the Valkyrian Empire," she began, her voice calm and professional. "This is President Yoon Hana of Earth. We need to talk." The alien bridge fell silent. How did the humans know their language? How did they know the Supreme Commander's name? Their communication technology wasn't advanced enough for real-time translation. "Commander," whispered Officer Zelvac, "how are they speaking Valkyrian? And how do they know who you are?" Thakros had no answer. The humans continued to surprise him. Dr. Song Kyung-ho appeared on the alien fleet's main screens, broadcasting from a facility they hadn't known existed. Behind him, the aliens could see technology that was clearly more advanced than their own. Impossible technology. "Greetings, warriors of the Valkyrian Empire," he said in perfect Valkyrian. "Before you proceed with your attack, there are some things you should know about humanity." The image shifted to show Earth's true nature. Not a primitive world with simple cities and chemical rockets, but a fortress planet surrounded by defensive systems that made the Imperial fleet look like children's toys. You've made an understandable mistake, Dr. Song continued. You assumed that what you could see was all there was. But humans learned long ago that the most dangerous predators are the ones that hide until it's too late to escape. The aliens watched in growing horror as their sensors finally detected the truth. The entire solar system was filled with human technology, massive space stations hidden in asteroid fields, weapons platforms disguised as research facilities, fleets of warships that had been completely invisible until now. This is impossible, breathed Supreme Commander Thakros. Our scan showed primitive technology, chemical rockets, nuclear power, basic radio communications. Yes, President Yoon Hana replied, her voice carrying a cold amusement. That's exactly what we wanted you to see. We've had a long time to perfect the art of appearing harmless. Engineer Kang Hyerim activated the quantum resonance network, linking every piece of human technology in the solar system into a single massive weapon. The energy readings that appeared on alien sensors were beyond anything they had ever imagined. You see, Dr. Song explained to the increasingly panicked alien command. Humanity isn't a young species taking its first steps into space. We're an old species that learned to hide from things much worse than you. Admiral Park Ji-ho began powering up the Mars Defense Station's main weapons. The energy output was so massive that it interfered with the alien fleet's communications and navigation systems. We didn't develop this technology to fight alien invaders, he explained over the open channel. We developed it to fight something much more dangerous. Something that made us destroy our own galactic empire and retreat to this single, hidden world. Captain Lee Dong-yun emerged from the asteroid belt in the Soul's Pride, which revealed itself to be far more than a simple cargo hauler. Its weapon systems came online with energy signatures that dwarfed the alien flagship. The question now, President Yoon Hana said to the alien fleet, is whether you're smart enough to leave while you still can. Supreme Commander Thakros looked at his sensor readings in disbelief. The human fleet that had suddenly appeared was not just more advanced than his own. It was more advanced than anything the Valkyrian Empire had ever encountered. Commander, reported his tactical officer, voice shaking. The humans have us completely surrounded. Their weapons are beyond our understanding. We need to retreat immediately. But Thakros knew it was already too late. His fleet was deep in Earth's gravity well, moving too fast to change course quickly. They were trapped in whatever the humans had planned. Emperor Zethak was receiving the same reports. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Valkyrian Empire faced an enemy that was clearly superior. The humans had revealed themselves to be not primitive prey, but apex predators that had been waiting patiently for their next meal. What are you? He transmitted to Earth, his voice filled with fear he hadn't felt in centuries. President Yoon Hana's response was simple and terrifying. We're the reason the galaxy is so quiet, and you just made the mistake of waking us up. Supreme Commander Thakros knew he had made the worst mistake in Valkyrian history. His fleet was trapped deep in Earth's gravity well with no possibility of escape. Around him, his bridge crew stared at their instruments in terror as human technology did impossible things to their ships. All vessels, emergency retreat, he ordered desperately. Maximum power to engines. Get us out of this system now. But it was too late. The alien ships were too deep in Earth's gravitational field, moving too fast, bunched too closely together. Even at full power, it would take hours to reach safe hyperspace distance. Hours they didn't have. General Nam Ji-hoon watched the alien fleet's futile escape attempts from the underground command center. They're trying to run, he reported to President Yoon Hana. Too little, too late. How long until they clear the gravity well? She asked. At their current speed and trajectory? Approximately 4 hours, assuming we let them go, which we won't. Emperor Zethak was screaming orders from his flagship, demanding impossible things from his crew. Override the quantum limiters. Dump all non-essential mass. Fire the engines until they melt. Get us out of here. His engineers worked frantically, but human technology was interfering with every system on every ship. The quantum cores were becoming unstable. The navigation computers were showing impossible readings. Reality itself seemed to be breaking down around them. Dr. Kim Minji began the final activation sequence from her laboratory on the Mars Defense Station. Around her, equipment that had been disguised, as simple research instruments revealed their true nature as components of the most powerful weapon ever created. Initiating reality displacement protocols, she announced calmly. All stations report ready for erasure sequence. President Yoon Hana opened one final communication channel to the alien fleet. Her voice was transmitted directly into the mind of every alien soldier, bypassing their communication systems entirely. Supreme Commander Thakros, Emperor Zethek, you have 30 seconds to understand what's about to happen to you. The alien leaders could hear her words inside their own thoughts, an impossible violation of their mental privacy that proved human technology was beyond anything they had imagined. In 30 seconds, she continued, we will demonstrate why humanity chose to hide rather than rule. Why we destroyed our own empire rather than risk using this technology carelessly. Admiral Park Ji-ho made the final adjustments to the Mars station's primary weapon. The energy buildup was so massive that it was affecting the orbit of Mars itself. Space began to bend and twist in ways that made the alien sensors scream warnings. 20 seconds announced. Dr. Song Kyung-ho from his facility on Luna. The weapon we're about to use was designed to fight enemies that could consume entire galaxies. Using it on your fleet is like using a star to light a candle. Engineer Kang Hyriam activated the quantum resonance network for the final time. Every piece of human technology in the solar system linked together into a single unified weapon. The energy readings were off every scale the aliens had. 15 seconds, said Captain Shin Yujin from her warship. This technology doesn't just destroy matter and energy. It removes the possibility that something ever existed at all. Supreme Commander Thakros was beyond panic now. His instruments were showing readings that couldn't be real. The humans were somehow manipulating the fundamental structure of space-time itself. 10 seconds, announced General Nam Ji-hoon. We call this weapon the reality engine. It was built to erase threats to existence itself. Emperor Zethak tried one last desperate transmission. Wait, we surrender. We'll leave and never return. Spare us. President Yoon Hana's response was delivered with absolute finality. 5 seconds. You should have thought of that before you threatened our home. The countdown reached 0. Dr. Kim Min-ji pressed the activation button. For exactly 3.7 seconds, the space around Earth filled with energies that existed outside normal reality. The human weapons didn't fire projectiles or energy beams. They fired pure impossibility. The Valkyrian fleet simply stopped existing, not destroyed, not vaporized, not reduced to atoms. They ceased to be, as if they had never existed in the first place. 50,000 warships, millions of alien soldiers, the most powerful fleet in Valkyrian history. All erased from reality so completely that the universe forgot they had ever been there. Captain Lee Dong-yeon watched from his ship, soul's pride as the space around Earth suddenly became empty. Where moments before there had been the largest invasion fleet in galactic history, now there was nothing. Not even debris, not even background radiation, just empty space that had always been empty. Event completion confirmed, he reported to Earth Command. Target erasure is complete. No trace remains. The silence that followed was absolute. Throughout the solar system, human forces verified what their instruments were telling them. The alien fleet was gone. More than gone. It had been removed from existence so thoroughly that reality itself had no memory of it. Admiral Park Ji-ho made the official report. The Imperial fleet struck Earth at 1423 Standard Time. At 1423:37, there was no Imperial fleet. There was no trace there had ever been an Imperial fleet. Dr. Song Kyung-ho powered down the Luna facility's weapons systems. Reality engine shutdown complete. All quantum signatures returning to normal. The universe has healed itself around the erasure. President Yoon Hana stood in the command center, surrounded by displays showing the aftermath of humanity's demonstration. The solar system was peaceful again. Earth continued its quiet orbit around the sun. The only evidence that anything had happened was the recordings made by human instruments. Compose a message to the Valkyrian Empire, she ordered her communications officer. Keep it simple. The message that reached Valkyrian space was transmitted on all frequencies, in perfect Valkyrian, from coordinates that showed impossible energy signatures. This is Earth, your fleet is gone. Do not make us remind you again. The message included detailed recordings of the erasure event. The Valkyrian Empire watched in absolute horror as their most powerful fleet was removed from existence in less than 4 seconds. their finest warriors, their most advanced technology, their greatest emperor, all unmade so completely that the universe itself forgot they had ever existed. The response from Valkyrian space came within hours. A simple transmission on all frequencies. The Valkyrian Empire acknowledges Earth's superiority. We will not return. We will not approach your system. We will not speak of this to other species. The aliens kept their word. Within months, the Valkyrian Empire began withdrawing from the galaxy's outer rim, retreating to their core worlds and avoiding any system that might be connected to the mysterious power that had destroyed their finest fleet. Back on Earth, life returned to normal. The defense systems powered down and returned to their disguised states. The hidden weapons platforms went back to pretending to be research stations. The massive underground complexes sealed themselves and disappeared from all sensors. Dr. Song Kyung-ho returned to his laboratory to continue his research. Not research into new weapons, but research into detecting the ancient enemy that had driven humanity into hiding. Because somewhere in the dark between galaxies, the thing that had destroyed humanity's first empire was still out there. How long before they find us? Asked Dr. Kim Min-ji during their regular security briefing. Unknown, replied General Nam Ji-hoon. But when they do, we'll be ready. We've spent centuries preparing for that day. President Yoon Hana looked out at the peaceful Earth sky, knowing that humanity's greatest challenge still lay ahead. The Valkyrian fleet had been eliminated in seconds, but it was nothing compared to what was coming. Next time, she said quietly, 3 seconds might not be enough. The universe was quiet again. Earth appeared peaceful and primitive to any observers, and in the darkness between stars, humanity waited and watched and prepared for the return of something far worse than any galactic empire. The real war hadn't even begun yet. Emperor Zethak stared at the impossible readings flooding his command screens. His flagship's quantum computers were struggling to process what they were seeing. The human energy signatures were beyond anything in the Imperial database. This cannot be real, he whispered to his advisors. No species has technology this advanced. Not even the ancient races from the galactic core. Supreme Commander Thakros was trying to maintain order on his bridge, but his crew was beginning to panic. The tactical displays showed human weapons systems that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Sir, reported his science officer, voice trembling, the humans are interfering with our quantum cores. That should be impossible. Our ships are protected by dimensional barriers that nothing can penetrate. How are they doing it? Thakros demanded. We don't know, sir. Their technology is completely beyond our understanding. Dr. Song Kyung-ho appeared on every screen in the alien fleet simultaneously. His image was crystal clear despite the fact that the aliens had no idea how he was bypassing their security systems. You want to know what we are? He asked, reading their confusion perfectly. Let me tell you a story about humanity's real history. The display behind him changed to show images of a vast galactic civilization. Millions of worlds connected by technology that made Valkyrian science look primitive. Cities that spanned entire planets. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Once upon a time, humanity ruled an empire that stretched across half the galaxy. We had technology that could reshape reality itself. We could create and destroy entire star systems with a thought. We were the most advanced species the universe had ever seen. Admiral Park Ji-ho continued the story from his position on the Mars Defense Station. But power corrupts even humanity. We became arrogant. We thought we were gods. We created weapons that could unmake existence itself. The aliens watched in growing horror as the images showed the destruction of the human empire, not destroyed by enemies but deliberately dismantled by humans themselves. We realized that our technology had become too dangerous, explained Dr. Kim Min-ji from her laboratory. We had created weapons that could destroy not just matter and energy, but the very concepts that make reality possible. Captain Shin Yujin took up the narrative from her warship. So we made a choice. We destroyed our own empire. We scattered our technology. We retreated to this single hidden world and pretended to be primitive. Why? Transmitted Emperor Zethak, his voice filled with disbelief. President Yoon Hana answered personally. Because we realize that there are things in the universe worse than death. There are things that can unmake you so completely that you never existed at all, and we were becoming one of those things. The alien fleet was now completely trapped in Earth's gravity well. Their ships were too massive and moving too fast to escape quickly. Every attempt to change course was being blocked by human technology they couldn't understand. The weapons we built in our arrogance, continued Dr. Song Kyung-ho, were designed to fight an enemy that threatened all existence. An enemy so terrible that we chose to destroy our own civilization, rather than risk letting our weapons fall into the wrong hands. Engineer Kang Hyeram activated another layer of the global defense network. Space around Earth began to shimmer with energy patterns that hurt the aliens' eyes to look at directly. But we kept the weapons, she explained calmly, hidden, buried, disguised as harmless civilian technology, because we knew that someday something would threaten our new home, something like you. Supreme Commander Thakros was receiving reports from throughout his fleet. Every ship was experiencing system failures. Their quantum drives were becoming unstable. Their weapons were losing power. The humans were somehow disabling the entire fleet without firing a shot. "What are you doing to us?" he demanded. General Nam Ji-hoon replied from the underground command center. "We're demonstrating why we chose to hide. Your technology is based on quantum manipulation of subatomic particles. Our technology manipulates the laws that govern reality itself." The aliens' worst fears were confirmed when their sensors detected the true scale of human defenses. The entire solar system was one massive weapon. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid had been quietly converted into part of a defense grid that could eliminate threats on a universal scale. "Earth isn't our homeworld," revealed Admiral Park Ji-ho. "It's our fortress. We chose this system specifically because it could be converted into the ultimate defensive position." Captain Lee Dongyan emerged from his hiding place in the asteroid belt. His ship now revealed to be a command vessel coordinating hundreds of other hidden ships throughout the solar system. "Every piece of space debris you see," he explained to the terrified aliens, "every comet, every chunk of rock, they're all part of our defense network. We've spent centuries turning this entire system into a trap." The truth was even worse than the aliens had imagined. Humanity hadn't just hidden their technology. They had hidden their entire civilization. The Earth the aliens could see was just a surface layer, like skin on a body. Beneath it lay a technological civilization so advanced that it could rewrite the fundamental laws of physics. "The real question," said Dr. Choi Sung-min from his hidden laboratory, "is not what we are, but what we were running from when we came here." Professor Oh Tae-hyun provided the final piece of the puzzle. "Our original empire was destroyed by something that could consume entire galaxies, something that fed on advanced civilizations. We realized that our technology made us a target. So we hid," continued President Yoon Hana. "We made ourselves appear primitive and harmless. We waited and watched and prepared for the day when something would find us anyway." Emperor Zethak felt a chill of absolute terror. "You mean there's something out there worse than you?" "Oh yes," replied Dr. Song Kyung-ho with a cold smile. "Much worse. And the only reason it hasn't found this galaxy yet is because we've been very careful to stay hidden." The alien fleet was now completely helpless. Their weapons wouldn't charge. Their engines wouldn't respond. Their communications were being jammed by technology they couldn't comprehend. "But you've changed that," General Nam Ji-hoon explained. "Your attack on Earth has created energy signatures that can be detected across the galaxy. You've essentially lit a beacon that says, 'Advanced civilization here.' That's why we have to stop you," said Engineer Kang Hyeram, her fingers moving over controls that could unleash forces beyond imagination. "Not just defeat you. Stop you completely. Make sure that no trace of your attack remains to attract attention." Supreme Commander Thakros finally understood the true horror of their situation. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were protecting the entire galaxy from something so terrible that they would rather destroy their own empire than face it with insufficient preparation. "What do you want?" he transmitted, his voice barely a whisper. President Yoon Hana's response was delivered with the cold certainty of absolute power. "We want you to understand that you have exactly one chance to leave this system alive. And that chance is about to expire." The countdown had begun. In seconds, the aliens would discover exactly why humanity had chosen to hide from the universe.